test hint. Why? Here is the test hint. There have been a lot of problems that say things like you have a water tank, and they give you an equation for the rate at which water enters the tank. So maybe that equation is, I'm just making this up because I don't remember it exactly. And they give you a different equation for the rate at which water leaves the tank. Maybe that turns out to be, I don't know, 27 cosine. Those are just made up, I don't know. So they give you two equations for the rate at which water enters the tank and the rate at which water leaves the tank. Does someone pick up some extra credit? Why are they giving you an equation to represent the rate? Like, what's the purpose for having an equation to represent the water that enters or the water that leaves the tank? Why don't I just give you a number? Ben?
What if the rate is never the same?
5 tickets, perfect. The rate is never the same. The rate is different at every different time. And so you treat the rate as an equation for that fact. And here's the big hint for the test. Just because they give you a rate for which the water enters as an equation, and the rate for which water leaves as an equation, doesn't mean you might encounter a different problem where instead of both rates being an equation, maybe one of the rates, say the rate at which water enters the tank, maybe that's just a number, 25 gallons per hour. Yeah, it's a constant rate. Like Amanda said, it's not changing, so I didn't need an equation. The rate never varies. It's just always 25 gallons per hour. And then they give you an equation still for the other rate, whatever that happens to be. The problem is not handled any differently, really. It's just that instead of using an equation for the rate, you just use the rate itself. Question. For example, don't do this. Students, sometimes when they see this, they say to themselves, again, it shows a lack of understanding. Instead of just thinking about what's happening and saying, oh, well, the rate's just a constant value, they say, oh, well, last time I did this problem or something like it, there was an equation. So they're not giving me an equation, I better create an equation. So they write this, like they contradict the problem. They say E of t equals 25t. Like they just throw a t on there for some reason, just because it made them uncomfortable to not have a formula. But if you do that, you're changing units of gallons per hour, which is a rate. Gallons per hour multiplied by hours is no longer a rate. That would just be gallons. So you're taking what was a perfectly good rate, changing it to an amount, and then you're using it like it's a rate. So don't do that. Unless you really want to find the amount. Any follow-up questions on that hint for the test? Perfect. Anyone else have it? Oh, Chad.
Actually, so will they like say that it's a rate before? Oh, I guess if they have the units, it would automatically be a rate, like the 25.
Actually, 3 tickets for that. Pay attention to units throughout the test. If you keep looking at units and keep saying, do these units make sense, you'll prevent mistakes. Just pay attention to units. You can't have incompatible units. What else? Follow up on this one. Please do.
Well, if you had to do a problem where it was like E of t minus L of t, then you just make 25.
So if it was the volume of water in a tank, I might say something like this. I'd say V of t is the volume of water in the tank. So V of t is the volume of water in the tank. And then I would say, therefore, V prime of t, the rate at which that volume changes is simply, same as before, rate at which water enters, subtract rate at which water leaves. But now, that first rate is just a constant value. Did that answer your question, Gavin?
Yeah.
Something like that. I have a different question from the practice test that you brought with you to class, and we're hoping to be able to discuss it once you arrived in class. Please, sir.
So what's the difference between like the total area equation and then like just area? Because one is like f of x minus g of x, and then the other is adding two.
I think what you're referring to, I'm not positive, but let me go to something here. This will work. So I'm supposed to find the shaded area. There is one question on the test where you do have to find area. I'm not sure of your question yet, so I'm just going to talk for a second, and you just ask follow-up questions, Sarah. So what I remember is this. To find an area like this, I first need to remember how to find the area of a thin rectangle. And I remember that that's the y coordinate at the top, subtract the y at the bottom, multiplied by the width of the rectangle.
Yeah.
Good there. So if I draw rectangles in this space, they start over here. Draw thin vertical rectangles, something like this. And I pay attention to where the top y coordinate is for every rectangle. And I also pay attention to see if the pattern ever changes. And no matter where I draw rectangles, the pattern is never different. The top y coordinate for every rectangle is always touching the f of x function. The y coordinate at the bottom of every rectangle is always touching the g of x function, no matter where I draw the thin rectangle. Good there. So that means the area of one rectangle is going to be the y coordinate at the top, which would be f of whatever x I'm at. Subtract the y coordinate at the bottom, which would be g of whatever x I'm at, multiplied by dx. That would give me the rectangular area of one rectangle. Like you plug in whatever x the rectangle is located at, this formula would find one single thin rectangular area. Because I want the total area I do that exact same computation, but I don't do it for one value of x, I do it for millions of different x values. And those x values begin at an x coordinate of 0. I guess we don't write the x equal. They begin at an x coordinate of 0, and they end at an x coordinate of 1. And I do the million different x values in between, and that will give me the total area. Someone have the number so I can just write it in here for the class notes that I post online. Please, Landon.
1.133.
1.133?
Yeah.
3 tickets. Sarah, I don't know if I've answered your question.
Not really, but
No, I wanted to say that. 3 more for Sarah. That's the whole idea. It doesn't bother me a bit.
because I was just I think it's on. Yeah, so on the first problem on the packet, you add, so it's 0 to like time b f of x dx plus b to c and then dx.
Oh, the difference here.
So it's
See,
like
this-
adding instead of
Yeah.
subtracting, so I don't know which one.
Let's see if this helps. So I start the problem exactly the same way. I note that I've got to find area R. That area is found by creating small rectangles again. So I draw some thin rectangles. I note that the top of every one of these rectangles is hitting the tangent function. The bottom is hitting 0. Y equals 0. Okay, don't talk.
My bad.
So the top is hitting the tangent function, the bottom is hitting 0. So for this space here, let's highlight it. So this area, it's the, let's say, I need to tell the grader some stuff here. So I tell him that F of x equals tangent of x. And g of x is the other formula, 2 minus x cubed. So the area is going to be the f function, subtract 0, multiplied by dx. I need to do that computation starting at x equals 0, and I need to go to this point. So I need to find that point. Tell the grader that's at an x coordinate of
0.902.
902. I saved that in my calculator somewhere. The y coordinate I don't really care, but did you have the y coordinate? So it's some y coordinate, that'd be f of 0.902. What did it become? 1.266. So that integral gives me that shaded area. But then, one second, Sarah, then things change. Now the top of every rectangle no longer hits the f function. The top of every rectangle is now hitting the g function. The bottom is still hitting 0, so I just need a separate integral to calculate that area, because there's two different formulas. So this area here in orange and I need that point right here again.
That's 1.26.
So always 3 decimals, 1.260.
Yeah.
So we have the y coordinate, oh, the y coordinate is 0, sorry. That would be g of x subtract 0. Somebody have the decimal for that integral? Please, yeah.
0.478.
3 tickets for Bailey. So we have the orange decimal value. Therefore, the total area is those two values added together. 3 tickets for Deborah. Anyone else have that one? Please, Lex.
27%.
Make sure you're adding stored values, not rounded ones. I don't know if I'm helping, Sarah.
No, I have that.
Did that clear it up? Sure. Oh, here's Sarah Love.
I was just wondering, so where like the point, like where the intersection is, when it like switched from one formula to another to the top, I just put 0.902.
That's okay. Yeah, as long as, if you're putting an x and a y pair, you can write it like this, because that tells the grader you understand it's an x and y pair. Another way to write it would be just to, make sure you tell him it's x though.
Okay.
So just have an arrow like this and say x equals 0.902. So he knows it's the x coordinate. Retake.
So back to number 8 that you were doing earlier.
Uh-huh.
Originally when I did it, I just did like the absolute value of the two and then added them together.
Uh-huh.
Is that not what they're looking for though?
Let me write down exactly what you said, Eric, just to make sure.
Okay.
So this was one way. Let's say method 2 here. Tell me what you wrote.
So I did the integral from 0 to 1 of the absolute value of f of x and then
fx,
dx. Dx.
like
Well,
close,
Yeah, close.
like that.
And then plus the integral from 0 to 1 absolute value of g of x. And then close to the absolute value of the dx on the end.
And you would have gotten the right answer, correct?
Yeah.
That's totally valid, you get full credit for that, there's nothing wrong with it at all. I would kind of steer you towards, like, this is perfectly great. Make sure this method makes sense to you,
Yeah.
because we'll need this method in the future for problems where we have to do the integral without a calculator. If we don't have a calculator, it's a lot harder to handle absolute value. And then also we'll need this idea when we start dealing with how to find volumes of three-dimensional shapes. So, but yeah, totally valid. You take it. There you go. Please.
Maybe number 6.
6. Here, let's have a follow-up question on the third one. To show us what time is the volume of heating oil in the tank the least. Show the analysis. First thing I write is, I need a symbol to represent the volume, so I tell the grader I'm going to use V of T. So V of T is volume in the tank.
Do we need to write that because it avoids them?
Depends, Heidi. If I never use the symbol V of T later, I don't have to write this. Like if I just keep using the words the volume in the tank.
Okay.
I do this because I get tired of writing the volume in the tank. 3 tickets. Anything else? Next thing I write is this. V of T is least. Different color here. Hold on. So V of T is least at a critical or endpoint of V of T. That, Heidi, right there is a really good example of why telling the grader that the symbol V of T means the volume helps me, because it makes the following statements easier to write. Question? There are 2 questions on the test that are extremely similar to this one. That means 21 of the 75 points you're working to earn come from this type of problem. So just ask anything you want to make sure you're crystal clear for Wednesday. Okay, then please. 3 tickets, a common mistake. We're focused completely on the volume of the tank, which means if we were looking at a graph of the volume, which we don't have, we're interested in times that begin at 0 and at 12. So those are the 2 endpoints we're talking about on V of T. And then we're also looking for any critical times in between on V of T. But it really is V of T that the problem is all about. The reason people get mixed up with this statement is the next statement. So the next statement is V of T has a critical point where V prime of T is equal to 0. So the critical points are on V of T, but we find them using V prime. Does that answer your question? 3 tickets. So VT has a critical point where V prime of T is equal to 0, or V prime of T is undefined.
Is that like points right there?
Great question. 3 tickets for Chad. Okay, the blue really is required if I'm going to use the symbol V of T later.
Yeah.
As Heidi said, if you choose to just keep writing the words, it's fine. You don't have to write it.
Yeah.
The maroon and green statements are not required to be written. They are required to be known, meaning you can't really solve the problem logically unless you remember both the green and the maroon.
Yeah.
So whenever somebody asks me to solve a problem like this, just from the beginning, I'll always write it because that's probably one reason they're getting stuck, is they're not remembering. Chance?
Oh, this is just a question. So instead of putting critical point, I always put just the initial CP. Will the AP graders be okay with that, or should I write out critical?
You need to write out critical point.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll try to check on that, see if I can find, there's certain abbreviations I've learned are legal through studying old tests, since we're asking people who actually graded the test. I'm not sure about that one. So.
If I accidentally wrote in the morning and I said B prime of T, but I did everything right, but I did one wrong because I wrote that one
Oh,
wrong.
great question. In my opinion, if the rest of your solution is like just perfect, I don't think they're gonna adopt it for that. Because they'll just say, oh, she made one tiny error, the rest of it's perfect. If I forget, Haley, remind me though, later there are some things that I think they really would document for. Like if you said this one, V of T is equal to 0, that's completely wrong. This is more like kind of just a slip in how you're writing it, so. Good question. Next thing, let's see, V of T. So now I write V prime of T. Here's another critical place, Haley. V prime of T is going to equal the rate at which oil comes in, H of T, subtract the rate at which oil leaves. If I mess that up and write V here, that's a big problem. That may cost you the entire problem. You won't get any points. Questions there? That's required in purple. I have to write the purple. Then I write V of prime of T is equal to 0 at certain T values, and I go find them using my calculator. So we have those values found. Go ahead.
4.790 and 11.31.
Question? Look as a scout. How you get that correct. The purple's required for points. Questions? Oh. You have to write the purple.
Instead of saying like, I'm kind of equal to 0, I just do the volume increases from.
Did you give a reason why you knew the volume was decreasing?
Yeah, and I put the.
And so did you say, like, from this time to this time, V prime is negative, therefore V of T decreases, or?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah, if you don't give a reason, that's gonna cost you. You have to have the reason why, so. Yeah, please.
I didn't use like the V of T at all, I just said H of T minus RT equals 0, is that?
Yeah, that's okay. So you wrote H of T minus RT is equal to 0 at these points.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally valid, because equal means same as. So, either way. Yeah. Awesome. So now I'm reminded of this fact. Therefore, V of T will be, we're looking for greatest or least, if I remember. Therefore, least. Question?
Oh, okay, I have a question, but I think I might have answered it.
You good?
So I was wondering why you hadn't chosen 0 or the 12 yet, but it's not.
Good question, that's a good. So the next thing I would do is this. I would go find the different values. So I would say, they told me, is V of 0 125, please? V of 0 is 125. V of 4.790 is going to equal, let's see, there's 125 gallons in the tank currently. I integrate the rate at which the number of gallons in the tank is changing. And I do the integral for the time period 0 to 4.790. The integral of the rate tells me by what amount the water in the tank actually changed. So that's going to be 125 plus some number, somebody know the number that represents the integral? Kayla, please. Adding those together, I get 129.828. Oh, thank you for that. You more prepared. Whatever. You have any follow-up questions?
Do you use the store, like the store number calculator for the 4.7?
Everyone hear that? 5 tickets. Don't store the 4.729. You're going to lose points, so make sure you store that somewhere. Same with the other value. Other follow-up questions, Chad?
So instead of like calculating the 4.790, did you write that like b prime of p changing from positive to negative at that point, making it a relative maximum, therefore it couldn't possibly be the
Yeah, that would be
Royal
okay.
Times least?
Gotta be a little careful how you write it. The way you said it was awfully good. So instead of doing so I can do the integral in orange, or I could, let's just write that down. And say, or in place of this, write, let's see, right, at t equal 4.790, the prime of t changes positive to negative. Here you can abbreviate the positive and the negative. So at t equal 4.790, the v prime changes from positive to negative. So v of t has relative max. At t equal 4.790. So v of t can't be least at that time. Is that what you meant, Shane?
Yeah.
Chance, sorry. Thank you for
Say
filming.
all that?
That's why I prefer to do the integral, but, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Jess. What I'm talking about.
Still not working, hold on. No, hey, look. Chance is correct. This is valid, and it takes the place of the orange integral. But it's up to you, but I'm like Kaylee, I just assume right out the integrals.
It's not like huge, but you have to write v of 0 equals 1.5.
That one, no, 3 tickets back. You don't have to write that one, because they told you, so. Deborah,
Oh,
please.
for, like, it's 4.79, should we put, like, just 0 to get
I want you putting the 0 because I don't want you ever forgetting that it's always 3 decimals. Even though your screen only said 2, it really was 3, so it just rounded off. Jared?
Okay, so I have a question about setting up the integrals. So, like the first one we did 0 to 4.79, right, plus the initial position. So let's say for the next one we're doing, we're checking the 11.319. So can I do it from 4.790 to 11.319 plus the new position? Or do I have to do 0 to 11.319 plus the original position?
Either way works. As long as if you go from 4.790, you use the stored version.
Okay,
Not the
okay,
written.
that's what I was doing, I was just making sure.
Yeah, either way is perfectly fine. Please.
So on 10, I'm just wondering if like, I'm gonna lose points the way I answered. I got the right answer, but the answer sheet is different.
Which number are we talking about?
10.
Let me finish this one real quick, so hold on a second. But make sure I get back to that. So, anybody else have a follow-up here? So I need to finish, so I can do some more integrals. So I go find B of, help me Derek, what's the time? B of what?
Oh. 103. I didn't do the problem. But this is from earlier ones I got.
Gotcha. So, 11.382.
318.
318. You were answering it so precisely, I figured you must have done it. 139.828.
And then those values have to be stored, right?
Yeah, all the rule is, it's not B prime, don't do that. That was back to Haley's question. Make sure that says B. The rule is if the value is rounded at all, you cannot use the written value. You must use the stored value. So,
For the B of 11.3, I got 149. That's what I got.
Yeah, I didn't get
149.
Yeah.
It's in the scoring guide. What does the scoring guide say? It's so how many got a different number here? Show me. So we must have made a mistake there.
Oh, yeah, I got 149.
Does it have the value of the integral alone?
Yeah, it's 24.407.
24.407?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
408?
408. Yeah.
So the final value is this.
149.408.
Thank you. What's that? So assuming, trusting you guys.
I got all the other ones.
Okay.
On the blue part that you just wrote, why is it not D prime of T? I mean, why is it D of T?
Oh, it is D prime of T.
The rate is G.
Yeah, thank you.
So.
Getting so many questions at once, I'm getting this sense. Good call. Hold on. 149.408. Sarah? Either way, like make sure that makes sense to you though. So what we're saying here is, what we're saying here is, starting at this time, there is this much water in the tank. Then between these two times, the integral of the rate at which the water level changes will tell us by what amount the water level changed. So adding that to what the water level is at this time will give us the new water level. Somebody, hey, what's the number quick? Hand, come on. Go. Say it slow. But Sarah, read for him. Sarah, I could have just as easily have said, at time equals 0, the water level is 125. So from 0 to 11, integrating the rate at which the water level changes will tell me by what amount the water level changed. Adding that to 125 would give me the exact same thing. Does that help? Yeah. Great. Please.
So like whenever there's a question that's like, okay, find how many gallons there are in this century, all you do is just create the rate and how many gallons.
To find the change. Find the change. Hey. Okay, what Deborah just said, Deborah, look at me. She just quoted the fundamental theorem of calculus. Fundamental theorem says that if you integrate the rate at which anything is changing, over some time period, you calculate how much that thing changed during that time. Always. Gotta do the last one, so it'll be of 12. Someone please give me the final result for that one. Oh, that was that. Ellie?
If we write all that in our calculator and then just give the answer, we have to show the
Yeah, everyone, this is 5 tickets for Ellie. Look at me, look at me, look at me. On an FRQ test, if you're doing integrals and you don't show integrals, you are bleeding points. Like, it's a critical situation, like, you're going to die. And you don't stop the bleeding. Okay? You have severed an artery.
What's the?
Okay. Yes, it's not like a Band-Aid, it's like the doctor comes and sews you back up. Band-Aid won't do, so.
Wait, so you, like, I have the integral like written down, but I don't have the answer to the integral, I just already added the 125.
Oh, that's okay, I didn't mean to mislead you on that. I'll go back and kind of summarize. Somebody give me the number here, please. 122.026. So summarizing, everybody look, I'm very serious about the bleeding example. You can understand a problem very well. If you don't use the required elements, you don't get the points. And that's the way it goes. So, look, required elements. Since I use the symbol V of t, I have to have an explanation of what V of t is later. That's required. The maroon and the green are not required. That's just something you have to know. The purple is required. You have to write that. The black, I think it helps if you write the rest of the solution very clearly. Maybe not required, but if you don't write the rest clearly, then this would be required. So it kind of depends. So just write that one down. You know, here's what I was saying to Ellie and Jackson. You don't have to write this right here. You can just write the result. That's fine. But you have to show what integral you were performing, and you have to show that it got, you look at me, you have to write down that it was added to 125. If you want the grader to be merciful, you should really write what you are finding. Graders hate it when they're like, what the heck are you computing? Like you have computations, that's the whole point. Look, they're trying to get you from, I'm sorry, but they're trying to get you from, everyone always says, like, how is school like the real world? I'll tell you how the real world is, having lived in the world for 15 years. It is not forgiving. Your boss comes to you and he's like, what kind of crap is this? I can't follow any of your work. You know, I've got 10 other people on your team that have to follow what you're doing. So you've got to be able to communicate to other people. So, I'm very serious. People, really simple example is software development. If you're writing software in a team of 10 people, which is pretty common, and your software is not legible, like you're like, well, I know what it means. Your boss is going to say, great, you go start your own company. We don't need you anymore. Ouch. I'm serious. It's just true. Like, because you've got to be able to work within the team concept. So you got to show them what you're doing. So please, Lexi.
So can I do an integral from, so for like the 11.318 integral, can I do it from 0 to that and then 1.5?
Either way. Either way. Just Lexi, just make sure it makes sense either way. There will be future problems where you have to do it the way I'm showing you here. But either way is fine. So, please, Kelsey.
So in the peak where you like said that the 4.70 equals B and then it's D, so down like with the orange, would you have to put B of B or does it not matter? Like
Either way.
They don't care.
Either way, they don't care. As long as you've told them what the symbol B represents. Yeah. Please.
If you write the number though, will they just assume that you're doing the store then?
Huh? Yeah, I kind of misled people when we first started talking about storing because I wanted it to become a very ingrained habit. But the grader isn't really looking for evidence that you actually did store it. All he's looking at is the final value. And as long as the final value is rounded correctly to 3 decimals, then he says to himself, oh, they must have stored this, otherwise it wouldn't have worked. So you don't have to actually show that. That's just to help you. So. Anybody else?
Get pumped.
Good. Cool. Any other follow-up questions here?
I'm so excited. Haley.
Will you explain how it says like, justify why it's the lowest one? Justify it by the lowest number.
Gotcha. Look up, let's look up. Hey. The rules for justification on a problem where they're asking you to find the min and the max are these. Here's what the grader's looking for to see if you properly justify. Did you identify that the max or the min could possibly occur at a critical point? So that's why he looks at the purple. That is, you didn't really realize it, but that's part of your justification. Is that you're saying, hey, the volume of the tank is going to have a critical point when the derivative or rate of change of the volume is 0. That's part of your justification, actually. The next thing he's looking for is right here. Does the student understand that the max or min of V could have also occurred at either end? That's another part of your justification, is telling the grader you know that. And then he's looking to see if you have evidence, meaning integrals or words, that eliminate all but one of these from possibly being the, what are they looking for, min or max? Min. One of these from being the minimum value. Here's my evidence. Here I do an integral to show the value. I could have done the words. Here I do another integral. Those three integrals combined with the fact that you told him the min has to be at one of those 4 places, you justified it. There's nothing else you need to write other than the result. So you just write at the bottom, therefore, V of T, volume in the tank, is least, and be careful here, do they want the time when the volume is least, do they want the volume when the volume is least, or do they want both? They will ask all 3 of those things on AP question. Which one do they want? Time. So the volume is least at T equal 11. That's all the justification.
If you like added more, it wouldn't like be bad thing.
As long as you don't lie to the grader. Like as soon as you tell the grader something that isn't true, his thought is this. It's what I was talking about writing things down. He's going to say to himself, does this person understand the problem, or are they trying to just, do they think I'm stupid? That I can like just write down a bunch of random things and the grader's supposed to just pick the part that's right? The grader's not stupid, okay? He's very intelligent. And he'll just look at that and go, oh, you're just trying to guess your way through it, so no points. Yeah, you can write all you want as long as you're not lying.
Like, what are the MCQs for the homework? It just like justify the results. Between 0 and 4, 3, and then 1 times 3, and then 4,
Everybody look over here. The justification is typically done either through integrals, a series of integrals, or through a series of statements, or you can do a combination. So you can do it the other way sometimes, where you just write statements. That's why they show that in the scoring guide. But integrals are just as good of a way to show that. It kind of depends on the question. There were ones in the homework, like, hold on. Like that was what Chance was saying, is that you could just use words instead of integrals. So, one place, Haley, where you have to use words, get this all relaxed. See, it's fine, it doesn't bother me. It's not feeling well. Obviously, at least in your voice. Sorry, I just, never mind. Hey. Haley and everyone else. The one place where you have to use words is if time goes on forever. You can't do an integral to infinity in our situation. So you can't go to say the volume of the tank at infinity is this. So you have to use some sort of statement. You have to say something like, V of t, from time equal 5 forevermore on to infinity, V of t is always, V prime of t is always positive. So therefore, V of t would always be increasing. Therefore, the tank can't be highest at infinity or something like that. So, That didn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
That was the only, it made sense to me. Let me find one, hold on.
Did you just mean lowest, is it higher?
No, I just confused you by the way I said it, so. I'll take the fall for that one, hold on a second.
That's all right. I don't play.
Appreciate your patience there. It's true. I hate you more than most.
You?
Oh, yes.
I think it's
Like,
yeah, shit.
My furnace was not functioning properly over the weekend, and I should have been smart and gone straight to the old YouTube. But I did not. I kept trying to figure it out just on my own and made it work. No, I didn't make it worse. I'm actually pretty good at not making it worse because I'm pretty careful. So I don't usually do that, but I wasn't fixing it. Finally, I did something smart and called a neighbor who was a furnace guy. And I was just going to ask him if I could schedule him to come fix it. And he was really kind. He's like, oh, well, it's probably this. And as soon as he told me, I go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. It's, didn't think of it. It didn't work.
Because your cafe, you did great with me. I think I was 5 points.
Was it worth going? Was it worth going?
I didn't go.
Are you doing it this week? I'll let you in minutes. Hey, Haley, I don't have a problem in front of me, but what you were talking about is something like this. There was a problem on one of the homeworks that talked about pollution in a lake, okay? And they gave a formula for the rate at which the pollution level changes called P prime. So don't worry about what the formula is for a second. They said that P of T was the level of pollutant in the lake, so gallons of pollutant. What I was saying is that solving this problem, they want you to find out when is P of T least. Okay, solving the problem is the exact same process basically. I've got to go figure out when P prime is equal to 0. And the time turned out to be 30.118 or something like that. Okay? Once I find that, I've got to remember that therefore P of T is least at an end time, which would be 0, a critical time, which is the 30, or it could be least somewhere in the future. So I've got to consider all the end times with me. This one, the solution to this one was a little easier to just use words, no integrals. So I look at the graph of P prime and I note for time equals 0 up to the critical time, P of T was negative. So P of T is decreasing. You with me? Then I write for time forevermore greater than 30, P prime of T is positive. So P of T is increasing. Okay, that's sufficient evidence. Just give the conclusion. Therefore, P of T is least at T equals 30.118. That's a situation where no integrals are needed. And actually, words are the only way to finish that problem, because I can't do an integral out to infinity. That's what I meant. Did that make better sense? Sarah, you had a different question.
Yeah, so on 10, it's like, it has the RT is greater than 0. It has like that this kind of for the answers. And then for me, I have, I just kind of go the same way we've been going for every single problem. They're just listing it that way. But it says the absolute maximum number from this week. I just don't understand how like they got, how it's negative or like, okay.
You're looking at the scoring guide?
Yeah.
Hold on.
So that like list right there.
Gotcha. Let me say it back to you. Okay, look at me, everybody. Look at me. hey, I want you to give me a 1 or 2. If you give me a 2, you need to come talk to me. Look at what I wrote here when I was trying to help Haley. Look here, come on. Okay, this is an example of a problem where because time goes to infinity, you have to have the solution written out as words. There just isn't any other way to do it. Give me 1 or 2 if this solution made sense to you. Show me. If it doesn't make sense, it's fine, but you gotta find time to talk to me later. Kind of out of time today. 2 points for the river. Okay, this one, Sarah, number 10. In the scoring guide, they tried to show you a way to do it using the words. Okay? In my opinion, because the time doesn't go to infinity in number 10, it was easier to just do integrals. So if you look at my solution, which I did last period, that's what I did. I didn't do like the scoring guide at all. I wrote down N of T is the number of mosquitoes.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
You know this, N of T has greatest at critical endpoints of N of T. N of T has critical points where N prime is equal to 0, N prime is undefined. I say N prime equals 0 at these 2 times, those are the critical times. And then I just said, so N of T's got to be greatest at one of these 4 times. I do 3 separate integrals and write the answer. Is that your question?
Yeah.
So any follow-up questions, Sarah?
Well, then it just says that there are 964 mosquitoes at T equals 31, so the maximum number of mosquitoes is 1,039 to the nearest whole number. But like, so my answer was, since at T equals 0, the amount is 1,000 mosquitoes, the amount will be greatest at T equals 2.55 with 1,039 mosquitoes.
As long as you have written, did you show all 3 of these integrals?
Yeah.
And did you come up with all 3 of these values?
Yeah.
You're fine. You can just say the max is that.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to do exactly what they did. So, never.
You have to specify that
I don't think so. I feel safer specifying it. Like if you never used M prime, you just always use R, I think you're okay. Anybody else? Okay, one real quick question. We got 2 minutes, 3 minutes to go. Look at me. Look up, look up, look up. Need to do a quick poll. Quick poll. So hey, look at me. I want your honest feedback. So Haley, hold on a second. And this is somebody that sincerely apologizes. Haley, Annika, Seth, Allie, Sarah, what did I miss? Was it worth coming? Was it worth your time?
Oh, yeah.
Good, okay.
Oh, yeah.
You go again.
Oh,
All right.
yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, hey, always listen, hey, trying to find times that work for me versus you in combination, right? So I just want your feedback. Look at me. The possible times this week right now, curious. Just give me a 1 or 2. The 2 is fine. But 1 means, yeah, I think I would seriously consider signing up for that. So would anyone be seriously consider signing up for, say, a Wednesday evening time? Anybody? Yeah, this Wednesday. The time would probably be like 6. It takes about an hour, plus drive time. So you have to plan on about an hour and a half. Is that about right? You have about an hour and a half to get there, eat, and come back, you know. Hey, look up. Hey, I need your feedback. Hey, so show me, come on, 1 or 2. Show me at least, don't do nothing. Show me 1 or 2. 1 or 2 if Wednesday evening works for you. If it's 2, it's fine. 1 or 2 if Wednesday evening works. 1 or 2 if Thursday at 6 works. Show me 1 or 2. What's that? Thursday is better than Wednesday. There's a lot of church stuff on Wednesday. How about the other time they came up with Saturday afternoon, like 1 o'clock? I haven't gone there. Like after lunch, like you eat lunch, then you come for a really nice dessert. No.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you at all. I blame the coaches. They need to develop me more. Yeah, that was so awkward. I was like, why? Because they're like in 2 seconds. I can't play
How long were you guys there?
We're like last year, but we got there like 20 minutes late. Yeah, because Rachel, I kid you not, she's 20 miles per hour on that road. So she said I should like
Either go from 0 to here, right? Okay, so you do the rest, but when you do the interval from 0 to there.
Ashley Lyons, can you come down to the attendance office for a checkout slip? Ashley Lyons, please come down to the attendance office for a checkout slip. Thank you.
or the
The rate at which the volume changes. So you're integrating the rate at which the volume is changing over a certain time period. You're welcome. When you do that integral, what are you trying to start at this calculator?
I'm finding, is it because I typed in Y1 or Y3?
No. Oh,
Because Y3
well, that is
should
really a
be.
problem. There's 2 different problems there. Oh, I see what you mean. It is because you typed white. I'm sorry. I was thinking it was something else.
I am.
It's
like
because you
why?
typed,
That's
ignore
all?
that, ignore
Okay.
that. It's just the white one.
Okay.
The rest of it was fine.
Okay,
I was
sorry.
just mistaken. Yeah, you typed white one there, and you also typed white one.
Okay. Thanks.
So try those again. Sorry, good.
No, no problem.
Colby Carroll and Abby Porter, please come to the main office. Colby Carroll and Abby Porter, please come to the main office.
Good work, Ingrid.
Thanks.
Well done. Like, sincerely. You take the right approach to the class.
Yeah?
You just really do. Like, you can just, it's easy to tell whenever I work with you that you're not just trying to somehow survive by memorizing steps.
Yeah.
You're trying to make sense of the ideas. And you do a good job. You do a good job of that. Like, you really, it's always easy to tell when somebody's understanding by how they ask the questions.
Yeah.
So, well done.
Thanks.
You're welcome. It does sound like a scout walking around, though.
I'm awful.
Jingles and stuff, you know. It's a good sound. I know
I
you're
like to
coming up
make
behind me,
pictures.
so, good. See ya.
Thanks, this was nice.